night, and it was a dirt road, windy sort of road. It's a logging road, doing roughly about 80 kilometres an hour. To my right-hand side, I saw something up in the bush. I had my high beams on. It ran I only missed it probably by about a metre. This thing ran out in front of my car. It would have easily been about 10 foot tall. I was looking up out of my ute. I was having to crouch my head down and just sort of then look up to sort of see its head, because where I was sitting, I couldn't see the top of its head. As I said, roughly about 80, 90 kilometres an hour, and I saw up on the right-hand side of the road, there was an embankment. Saw this thing and I thought it was a tree. Then it ran straight down in front of me and it looked at me. And it kept running onto the left-hand side of the road, and the road there, it tapers off and sort of goes down a hill, like a gully. I stopped a few metres from where he ran, and I've got sort of bright LED lights on the back of my ute, my driving lights. I pulled up on the centre of the road. I'm there and I'm sort of trying to look where I sort of position it, where I exactly was. I have very limited mobile phone reception. So I've looked up from my phone, I've looked in the rearview mirror. I could see this thing coming back out of the bush onto the road towards me, and it was running. Standing upright, it was running. So I've straight put the car into gear and I've started driving. Basically, I put my foot to the floor. This thing kept up with me until I reached about the 80 kilometre an hour mark, and then I lost it. When it looked at me, it had really big eyes. It must have been from the light, the reflection of the light from my vehicle, that was almost like a yellowy sort of orange. As I said, really tall, really hairy. I could smell. It was a horrible, horrible smell. It was almost like a rotten egg gas smell.
What were you thinking as this thing's running after you?
Well, I knew it looked angry. It looked like it wasn't just walking towards me, it was running full pelt towards me. And because I had the window down, my driver's side window, I could hear this thing, and it let out this almighty screech. I couldn't sort of describe anything that would come close to it or anything recognisable, but it just, the smell, like rotten egg, almost like sulphur. The air was just really, really rich with this smell. That's all I could smell, and the smell of it was just unbelievable.
Describe its physical shape and any details you saw in the thing as you're looking at it in the headlights, because I'm assuming you had some pretty good lights.
When it got down onto the road, off the embankment from the right-hand side behind the tree, it jumped down onto the road. I wasn't stopping. I wasn't putting my foot on the brake for it. I could describe it as being tall, 10 foot tall, about 10 foot tall. It had really, really broad shoulders. It was hairy. It had almost like a light reddish brown sort of hair.
Was the hair long or short, and was it smooth or shaggy?
It was long, mate. It was like shaggy looking hair. The face almost say like a really sort of unformed, out of shape sort of human sort of face. The head from sort of the forehead up went into kind of like a conial type shape. It didn't just get to the forehead and then round off like a normal person's head does. Its skin on its face it was tanned. It wasn't really dark. You know, you see someone that's worked out in the sun for 30 years and their skin's just like a brown, and it was that kind of colour.
Did you see arms and legs?
Yes. Really long arms. When it walked, all I can say is, mate, the arms were really long, and it had, from what I could see, the hands were huge. I'm 6'3", nearly 6'4", and I'm quite a tall, big built sort of a person, but the hands on this thing were massive. I weigh roughly about 110 kilos.
How much do you think this thing weighed?
Well, with the build of it, it had a really broad shoulder. At the shoulder line, it was quite broad chest, just quite a wide body in general. I'd roughly say this thing was close to, say, 200 kilos, maybe even more. It could have been more. After its it's run in front of me and it's gone down into the bush because I saw where it went down into the bush. I pulled up probably maybe 50 metres because I was doing close on 100, and it would have been close to nearly 50 metres away. I didn't go jumping on the brakes too hard because it was a dirt road. I stopped and I couldn't believe what I'd just seen, because I'm there on my phone looking at where exactly I was. Again, I had very limited mobile phone reception. I've looked up, it's just out of the corner of my eye into the rear view mirror. I saw this thing start running up out of the bush. I could see it was like with the bright lights and everything. I could see this thing was starting to run back out of the bush. And it was running towards me. It was running on 2 legs, not 4. I started driving again, and I lost this thing at about close to nearly 80 kilometres an hour.
When it was running across the road, did it have any sort of an expression on its face?
I kind of had this feeling that it was, obviously, it looked startled.
I guess people sometimes compare these creatures to a range of facial features, but you're saying this thing looked more humanish?
Kind of like maybe what you call like a humanoid. It kind of almost like a human, like this thing ran like a person, and it was loud, and it made this almighty screech, sort of roar.
At what point was it making the noises? Because I assumed later you'd roll down your window. Is that when you started hearing the noises, but you hadn't heard it when it ran across the road in front of you?
I hadn't heard anything when it ran across the road. When I saw it come up out of the bush, I could just see it coming back up out of the bush, and I could hear it. It was groaning, grunting. Oh, it was just, yeah.
It was loud?
Yeah, real loud.
You said it screeched. At what point did it screech?
It screeched probably just to the point of where I'd lost it at that roughly 70 to 80 kilometre an hour mark.
Was your window still down at that point?
Yes.
And when you say a screech, are you talking like the screech of a cockatoo, or do you know what I'm just trying to compare it to something?
It's a screech of a cockatoo, but it was almost like a screech crossed with a roar, and it was extremely loud. Like shit, mate, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. I haven't been out in the bush again since these last 2 sightings.